It's the enforcer. I do sometimes do like a weird free.
Bring my vampire sharks. Megan, how are you? Good. You did fantastic in the bow.
Drop announcements.
Here for our second bout of the day, featuring in white your skeleton crew and in black the vampire sharks. Not something I want to mess around with.
Oh, keep stuff on the same line. So ours was bat skeleton or bat vampire.
Yeah, the vampire bats, yeah. Which makes sense.
Okay.
They either are or they certainly have the ability with big fangs. Yeah, sharks doesn't make sense.
Vampire like stars for like star caps or something. At least like that.
Oh, yeah. All right. Just lining up. And we are underway here with this first jam of the second bout. Looks like we'll have Maxi Pad jamming for the Skeleton Crew and Loch Ness Monster for the Vampire Sharks. That is Maxi Pad, who is your lead jammer. Some good blocking there by the Vampire Sharks. Maxi Pad does make it through for the first 4 points of the bout, awarded to the Skeleton Crew. Loch Ness Monster through for 4 of their own. Goodness. And that'll end the first jam of this bout. Quick 8 points for the Skeleton Crew and 4 for the Vampire Sharks. It looks like we'll have Maul and Bruised Barbie lining up for the Skeleton Crew in this second jam. Everyone's wearing mustaches. You can't tell who's who. This will be a timeout before we get going here. That's great. Mm.
No, that's pink. And then
Well, that is pink, and then Barbie on the ruby.
when did you start doing
And that whistle means we're about ready to get back underway here for the second jam of this bout. And that is Pink Panic, who is your lead jammer for the Vampire Sharks. Barbie takes a big hit as Pink Panic comes around the curve towards the back, that is. And Barbie does make it through, as does Pink Panic, adding 4 points for the Vampire Sharks. Pink does call off the jam, and it's once again a tie game.
You're so ate up.
We're going to have another little timeout here.
No, no. I know. I just need you to relay this. Camera.
The one that's not important.
Sorry, the one on the left. So. It's all for matters. Yeah. CHITA. What's her name? Yeah. Just one. Great. Thank you.
So we should have that. All right. For this next jam, we will have Bones jamming for the Skeleton Crew. Oh, and that is Deville for the Vampire Sharks. Oh. I'm so sorry. That is Roswell Trask. Quite a testament to my need for my morning coffee. We're struggling this morning. Both jammers up against some good blocking here from both teams. No points scored yet.
We do it in between. For white.
A single point scored for the Skeleton Crew brings them into the lead, 9 points to 8. Just about 4 minutes gone so far in this first period. That is none other, than Black and Bluebird lining up for the Vampire Sharks, and Barbie once again for the Skeleton Crew. Barbie is your lead jammer, but Bird is out ahead. Barbie calls off the jam before anything else can transpire. It should, yeah, pushing it upwards. There we go. Now, this is Punk versus Brawl Pop for the Skeleton Crew versus the Vampire Sharks in this particular jam. And it looks like we have Brawl Pop in the penalty box, meaning this is a power jam for the Skeleton Crew. And Punk does make it through for 4 more points to the Skeleton Crew. About 30 seconds left in this jam, but Punk calls it off. It's ready for you to scream into it. As my wonderful co-announcer Maggot here noted, this is Bam Bam lined up and is your lead jammer, for that matter, for the Vampire Sharks. It is Mystic Midnight for the Skeleton Crew. Nice agility there on the part of Bam Bam, earns 4 more points for the Vampire Sharks. And that was indeed a star pass from Midnight, to Potatoes, but the jam is called off before anything exciting can happen from here.
And then you put
Oh, is that why you chose Maggot? That's good.
I was a weird kid. Great. I had to forgot.
Those are the more exciting stories. Normal kids. Right. That's fun. That is none other than Margaret Thrasher for Skeleton Crew, who is your lead jammer here. Pink Panic trying to work through the pack for the Vampire Sharks, but that was a star pass to Black and Bluebird, who is now your jammer for the Vampire Sharks. God, hurts the ears.
Yep, Star Pass for the team. Okay.
Bones is your jammer for the Skeleton Crew and is your lead jammer. Loch Ness Monster jamming for the Vampire Sharks. Some good blocking there on Loch Ness Monster from Molly Wheels. Bones takes a tumble, but still trying to fight through the pack. And Bones calls that jam off.
Yep.
Yeah, you feel free to jump in whenever. Oh. It is Bird versus Barbie for the Vampire Sharks and Skeleton Crew, respectively. Molly Wheels off to the penalty box, meaning this is a power jam for the Vampire Sharks. Pink Panic is through for 4 points. It's another 4 for Pink Panic, extending the lead to 10 points for the Vampire Sharks. That is Molly Wheels back on the track, ending that power jam for the Vampire Sharks. Molly Wheels is through for 4. Molly Wheels once again off to the box, meaning this is another power jam for the Vampire Sharks. And we do have a star pass from Pink Panic to number 76, Narwheels. And that ends the jam.
Except for what? Yep. No problem.
for this particular jam. That is number 32, Sasquatch for the Vampire Sharks, and Margaret Thrasher for the Skeleton Crew. That is Sasquatch who's out ahead as your lead jammer. Margaret Thrasher not too far behind as Sasquatch enters the pack. About 12 and a half minutes left. That puts us at 26 points for the Skeleton Crew, 46 for the Vampire Sharks. We have potatoes on the jam line for the Skeleton Crew. That is Brawly Pot, who is now off to the penalty box, meaning this is a power jam for the Skeleton Crew. Potatoes trying to take advantage of this power jam, but some terrific blocking on the part of the Vampire Sharks preventing that. 4 points finally scored for the Skeleton Crew. That is Margaret Thrasher for the Skeleton Crew, jamming. This remains a power jam for the Skeleton Crew as well. Margaret Thrasher threw for 4 points for the Skeleton Crew. That means the Skeleton Crew is now in the lead for this game, just as Brawly Pop was back on the track out of the penalty box. That is another 4 from Margaret Thrasher, and that is Boobird, number 24, who is now your jammer for the Vampire Sharks after that star pass. That is Barbie jamming for the Skeleton Crew, and it is Bam Bam for the Vampire Sharks. It's a slim 6-point lead for the Skeleton Crew. Barbie will try to add on to that first out of the pack and your lead jammer. Bam Bam finally through the pack as Barbie is up against a wall of Vampire Sharks blockers. And Barbie does call off the jam, but not before scoring 4 points. With about 5 minutes left in this first period, it is 56 points for the Skeleton Crew, 50 points for the Vampire Sharks. Roswell Crash jamming for the Vampire Sharks, and Bones for the Skeleton Crew. Bones is the lead jammer. Roswell Crash hot on her tail. And Bones is forced to call off the jam. That is Potatoes on the jam line, now actively jamming for the Skeleton Crew, and Charcuterie for the Vampire Sharks. Big hit, big tumble by a couple players there. Charcuterie working hard to try and break through the pack here. It is Potatoes who is out first and is therefore your lead jammer.
They took that cover off. Sure.
Barbie jamming here for the Skeleton Crew once more and is immediately lead jammer. While it is Sasquatch for the Vampire Sharks. Barbie comes through at speed and gets a quick 4 points for the Skeleton Crew, adding on to their lead. Barbie does call off the jam. After that 7-point gain for the Skeleton Crew with just under 2 minutes left in this first period, it is 64 points for the Skeleton Crew, 50 for the Vampire Sharks. That is Bird on the jam line for the Vampire Sharks and Mystic Midnight for the Skeleton Crew. Terrific blocking there by Molly Wheels to get Bird out, and an intense soul crushing on Bird. And as a result, that is Midnight who is the lead jammer for the Skeleton Crew. Bird gives a star pass to number 76, Narwheels, but Narwheels is sent to the penalty box, meaning this is a power jam for Midnight and the Skeleton Crew. What a band name that would be, huh? And Midnight is out for 4 points for the Skeleton Crew. And this jam is called.
Sweet.
you for the second half of this second bout. Still anyone's game with a mere 18-point lead on part of the Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
And we are underway for the second half. That is MaxiPad jamming for Skeleton Crew. With a hit on Bam Bam, MaxiPad is your lead jammer. Meanwhile, Narwheels quickly escapes the pack and is hot on MaxiPad's heels. Narwheels the good agility there, but couldn't quite stay in bounds. MaxiPad does make it through and gets 4 points for the Skeleton Crew. Narwheels also through for 4.
What is my goal? So now I'm at go to.
I believe in you. And that is Barbie jamming for the Skeleton Crew and Charcuterie for the Vampire Sharks. MaxiPad once again jamming for the Skeleton Crew and is your lead jammer. Pink Panic, the opposing jammer for the Vampire Sharks. That is Roswell Crash, who's lead jammer for the Vampire Sharks. Margaret Thatcher for the Skeleton Crew. I apologize. That is Crowbar number 68 for the Skeleton Crew jamming. Muzzle Crash picks up speed, makes it through, and then calls off the jam. Who's the other jammer? It's Barbie and oh, Cheetah. Yeah, that's right. And that is Cheetah, who is your lead jammer here for the Vampire Sharks. Don't know what a Vampire Shark is. We will never know. Sounds really scary, so I'm fine if we never know. This is also a power jam with Barbie in the box. Cheetah coming around for another attempt at 4 points. About 55 seconds left in this jam. Oh. Cheetah still fighting to get through. It does call off the jam. Bones is your lead jammer here for the Skeleton Crew. Bam Bam jamming for the Vampire Sharks. And Bones calls off that jam. Asserting your dominance. That's what I want. Yeah, like Maggot said, this is Cornfed does make it through after being lead jammer, calling off that jam with 4 points adds that total. Adorable.
Margaret, you need a babysitting business card. I do. Yes. Pass it out. You're. Well, I still show some awesome.
My goodness. We are going fast here, folks. Barbie and Bird jamming, Bird being your lead jammer. And this jam is called off almost as quick as it began. Just under 19 minutes left in this second period. All right, who is this? And it looks like that is Pink Panic, who's doing a star pass to Narwheels. That jam is called off. Roswell Crash jamming here for the Vampire Sharks, but it is Crowbar who is out for your lead jam. Who is your lead jammer? That is for the Skeleton Crew. Crowbar up against some stiff blocking once again from Cornfed and, well, really, the Vampire Sharks. Tough sledding out there, folks. Roswell Crash does make it through. But Crowbar is the one that's able to call it off as lead jammer. With 4 points tacked onto that total for the Skeleton Crew, this is a 20-point game. Still plenty of time for things to change. The Skeleton Crew holding that narrow lead. On the jam line next, it is Barbie and Loch Ness Monster for the Skeleton Crew and Vampire Sharks, respectively. The Loch Ness Monster is out and is your lead jammer. Barbie, Bam Bam, that is, sideswipes Barbie. Barbie makes it through, exits the pack.
Going into purple two. Yeah.
It'll be Bones versus Pink Panic for this jam. Both both jammers entering the pack methodically here. Sheeta takes down Bones before Bones can get out of the pack. Still no lead jammer here, about 30 seconds in. It's a big block by Charcuterie on Bones. Both jammers getting back to their feet. And we do have a star pass from Pink Panic onto, I believe, that is Corn Fed. Bones is finally out of the pack and is lead jammer. Just a slog to get through those Skeleton Crew blockers. And Cornfed is through the pack, as is Bones. Bones then calls off the jab. We'll stop in the action here. And it looks like we have a team timeout.
Yes. He's the most proud. He's so. Size roughly. Yeah. I mean, she was telling me more. How fast? Margaret was 8.5 now. Yeah. That's yeah, she was 8.5. Oh my god. Expect 7. How is that? 10 ounces. You're 10 pounds. Yeah, he was different. She never. Yeah, I did too. That's came the day before the day, and if you're the day later, I feel like you back from hospital. So I think my kids came late. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it sucks.
Getting ready here for this next jam. That will be Bam Bam jamming for the Vampire Sharks and Barbie for the Skeleton Crew. Once again, some stellar blocking here from both teams. Barbie finally races through and is the lead jammer here. Bam Bam almost through, but easier said than done from this comfy announcer's table. Bam Bam is finally through. Barbie through as well. Those 4 points for Barbie takes the Skeleton Crew above 100 points for the bout. Barbie quickly through again and calls off the jam. 4 points for Bam Bam there brings us to a total score of 107 to 81. Skeleton Crew in the lead. This 14th jam of the bout, or sorry, of the period, featuring Crowbar for the skeletons and Bird for whatever mystical creature a vampire shark is. Crowbar is out ahead and is the lead jammer. Both jammers out of the pack and Bird racing to catch up. But Crowbar will be the first one to hit the pack. Makes it through and calls off the jam. MaxiPad is the jammer for the Skeleton Crew, and is Charcuterie for the Vampire Sharks. Big hit by Charcuterie enables her to pass by and make it through, and Charcuterie is your lead jammer here. MaxiPad versus Narwhals and the other Vampire Sharks blockers here. Real tough go of it. Charcuterie working hard to start closing that lead here. Lead by the Skeleton Crew, that is. Charcuterie calls off that jam. That is Margaret Thrasher lining up for the Skeleton Crew. And jamming for the Vampire Sharks is the Block Ness Monster. Both teams' blockers doing well here so far. Margaret Thrasher seemingly right on the verge, but there's Cornfed. Finally, Margaret Thrasher makes it through. Block Ness Monster with a star pass to Bird. Bird picking up speed to come around the bend. Margaret Thrasher calls off this jam before Bird can get anything done. Barbie back on the track for the Skeleton Crew. Narwhals now jamming for the Vampire Sharks. Barbie steps out of bounds, so it is Narwhals who is lead jammer here. Trying to get the Vampire Sharks to close that gap. Oh, and Narwhals is knocked out of bounds by Potatoes. The jam comes to an end. You do. That is everyone's favorite dad, Pink Panic, lining up on the jam line. Barbie is in the penalty box. So this is a power jam for the Vampire Sharks, with just under 7 minutes left in this second period. A big hit by Cornfed to get Potatoes out of bounds. Pink Panic takes a tumble right back to their feet. Barbie back on the track, ending that power jam. Pink Panic is lead jammer coming back towards the pack. And Pink Panic calls off that jam. An official timeout here on the track.
Margaret with that girl on my. I got like five next. I had dogs. And I have a spoon for their sick boys. Whatever. You can.
And we'll have an official review now before we get back to the action.
I know. Just want to be on baby television. We need to stop the derby and just look at the baby. This review of the baby. The baby. They said that there's no age requirement written down for bench coach, so one time we're gonna say that she's our bench. No, but he's one of our. So much, but you really trust me. Where am I going to first where? First meal. Where? What's her name? What? Like, you can yeah. Rosie wants to be nicknamed from. I don't know. Like elderly. Wow. I like I was fine about it. Yeah.
That whistle means we are about to get back underway here. That is Bird lined up on the jam line for the Vampire Sharks, with Punk lined up for the Skeleton Crew. Bird is through first, but here the lead jammer. Good blocking by the Vampire Sharks, trying to give their jammer a chance. Bird is through for 4 points. Bird through for another 4 points. Closing that gap to just 20 points now, with about 4.5 minutes left to go in the bout. And there is a star pass here for the Skeleton Crew from Punk to Bones. Bird scoring 4 additional points in the interim. That last 4-point pass by Bird did it bring Vampire Sharks above the 100-point mark. And this additional 4 points just brings them above that further. It took that long? Bird coming in one more time, trying to get another 4 points. And Bird does make it through. And that ends the jam. A 24-point jam for Bird and the Vampire Sharks. Tremendous. That means the Skeleton Crew is now only leading by 4 points with just over 3 minutes left in this bout. We are back underway. Narwheel's jamming for the Vampire Sharks, and that is Potatoes jamming for the Skeleton Crew. Narwheels is out first and his lead jammer. Potatoes not far behind. Narwheel showing off that agility, makes it through for 4 points and then calls off the jam. If it weren't for the single points scored by the Skeleton Crew, this would be a tie game. For the moment, Skeleton Crew remains in the lead. Lee Barbie jamming for the Skeleton Crew and Roswell Crash for the Vampire Sharks. Roswell Crash try to take the lead for the Vampire Sharks. And it is Roswell who is the lead jammer. Man, just like the juniors game, last game, setting up to be a nail biter to the very finish. Of a bowling lane down there with everyone falling down. Barbie still yet to make it through the pack. Those 4 points by Roswell Crash does pull the Vampire Sharks into the lead. Barbie finally does make it through. And that jam is called Solidifying. First lead for the Vampire Sharks in quite a while with under a minute left to play. This will likely end up being the final jam of this bout. Final jam of this bout will feature Pink Panic jamming for the Vampire Sharks, and that is Crowbar jamming for the Skeleton Crew. Just a 4-point difference between these two teams. Pink Panic is your lead jammer. Both jammers are out of the pack. Crowbar's coming in first. Pink Panic forced to call off the jam. And a timeout is called with 5 seconds left, meaning we will have one more deciding jam. This final jam will feature Barbie jamming for the Skeleton Crew. And that's Roswell Crash lining up once again for the Vampire Sharks. And now we're ready to get back underway again for the final jam of this bout. The Skeleton Crew needs just 4 points to tie the game and just 5 points to take the lead. And Barbie's out ahead and is the lead jammer. Big opportunity here for the Skeleton Crew. Roswell Crash yet to make it through the pack for the first go around. Here comes Barbie for her first attempt at points. And Barbie's through for 4 points, tying this game at 123 apiece. Barbie calls off the jam for an unofficial tie.
We are going to an overtime jam to break the tie.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to an overtime jam to break this tie.
Different rules.
There will be different rules involved. Merle, wherever you are. Merle, I see you.
Smash Coach will be fine. Okay. It is 1 2-minute jam, no lead, and no initial.
This will be a single 2-minute jam. There will not be a lead jammer. No initial pass.
It was like, let's do it. I've never done
So
the most points at the end wins it.
So there's no initial pass. The first pass gets points. Okay. In this overtime jam, there is no initial pass, meaning the first time a jammer passes the pack, they score points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the 2-minute stretch will be your winner. Right. So to recap, this is a 2-minute jam. There are no lead jammers. There is no initial pass. The first time a jammer passes the pack, they score points. After 2 minutes, whoever has the most points wins this game. This is all or nothing, folks. Are we ready for some sudden death overtime? Come on. Are we ready for some sudden death overtime? Thank you.
If they have 2 passes. So, you were just
And we are underway for this final overtime jam. Jamming for the Skeleton Crew is Maxi Pad. Jamming for the Vampire Sharks is Charcuterie. Since there is no lead jammer and no initial pass required, Charcuterie has an opportunity to score points right here and now. MaxiPad out of the pack as well. I'm sorry, both have scored points now. My apologies. Both jammers have scored 8 points apiece. We are still at 131 points per team. 1 minute, 13 seconds left in this winner take all overtime. Both jammers approaching the pack here. Both coming in at speed and both some good hits. That is MaxiPad, who's through for 4 additional points. Charcuterie caught up in some pretty good Skeleton Crew blocking. With 50 seconds left. Good hit by MaxiPad on Pink Panic. MaxiPad is through for 4 more, extending this lead. 139 to 131. Skeleton Crew, 36 seconds to go. MaxiPad through for another 4 points. Trying to put this bout out of reach. Four more points for Charcuterie, but with 13 seconds left, it may not be enough. MaxiPad through for yet another 4 points. And this jam comes to a close. That stiff blocking by the Skeleton Crew means that the Skeleton Crew does win this match. Unofficial score of 147 to 139. That was a thrill. That is for the current one, yes.
Still there.
Okay.
I'll bring it back to you like I did last time.
Count on it. And that is your official score. Final in overtime, 147 Skeleton Crew, 139 Vampire Sharks. Feel free to come up to the side of the track and give these players a well-deserved high five as they make their rounds.
Really? Thank you so much. You need anything else from me? Cool.
A reminder, this day of Derby is not yet done. We have awards yet to hand out for some of the most valuable players in this prior jam. And then we have our final bout of the day coming.